Today, we're diving into something really interesting, a completely fresh take on a super famous Bible verse. This comes from the speaker Daniel Lamptey, and honestly, it might just flip the script on how you see yourself and your place in the world. So let's jump right in.
So here's the verse, Matthew 13, verse 43. Now, if you've been around church for a while, you've probably heard this one. It's this beautiful, comforting promise, right? About how the righteous will end up, a future that's all glory and light. But what if we've only been scratching the surface? What if there's a whole other layer to it?
And that's exactly the question Speaker Daniel Lamptey is asking. He's basically saying, hey, what if we're all looking at this as something that's going to happen way down the road? He thinks that view totally misses this deep, incredible spiritual reality that is happening right now.
Okay, so to really get where he's coming from, we have to back up a little and understand the context he sets up. See, this verse about shining like the sun, it doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's right at the end of a passage describing the final judgment, a time of ultimate separation.
And this is where Lamptey makes a really important distinction. He says we need to understand the difference between hell and the lake of fire. He describes hell as like a temporary holding cell. Think of it like being in police custody before the trial. But the lake of fire, that's the final sentence, the life sentence, an irreversible state of separation. And you got to remember that distinction because it's totally key to his whole point.
Right. So with that backdrop of final judgment, of that final separation, this is where Lamptey's idea really clicks into place. He's saying that shining like the sun isn't about becoming something you're not. It's about revealing what you've been all along.
And he does this by really zeroing in on the exact words used in the verse. Just a couple of words, but they change everything.
The first big one is the phrase shine forth. Think about that. It doesn't say start shining, it says shine forth. It's like pulling a curtain away from a window to let the sun in. The sun was always there, you just couldn't see it before.
And that leads right to the other key point, what the verse doesn't say. It absolutely does not say the righteous will become sons. Not at all.
And boom, there it is. That's the heart of Daniel Lamptey's whole teaching. It's not about a future transformation, it's about a future revelation. He's saying that spiritually speaking, the righteous already are sons. The final judgment is just the moment the curtain is finally pulled back for everyone to see what was true all along.
Okay, so the obvious question is, right? If we're already sons, why don't we see it? Why isn't everyone walking around glowing? Well, Lamptey's answer is that our physical bodies are kind of like a container, a limitation. This physical world, our bodies, they act like a veil that conceals our true spiritual nature, hiding that brilliant light inside.
So, that just opens up a huge can of worms, doesn't it? If the righteous are actually these hidden sons, what kind of impact does that have on the world, like today? Lamptey uses this amazing analogy. He says the righteous on Earth function in pretty much the exact same way the actual sun functions for our solar system.
I mean, just think about what the sun does for real. Its gravity literally holds all the planets in place so they don't fly off into space. It powers photosynthesis, which is the basis for pretty much all food. It gives us warmth, it gives us light. Without it, life here is impossible. Lamptey is saying that in the spiritual realm, the righteous are doing that exact same job. They're the spiritual life givers.
And this is where he makes a pretty radical claim. He says that the very presence of the righteous, their prayers, their spiritual gravity, that's what's actually holding the world together. That's what's sustaining life and holding back the darkness. And the crazy part? He says most people, especially the wicked, have absolutely no idea it's happening.
I know, this all sounds incredibly abstract, right? Like, how could you ever prove something like that? Well, this is where Daniel Lamptey brings it all down to earth with a really personal, really powerful story from his own life.
Yeah, he tells this incredible story about his own mother, and it's a perfect example of how this spiritual reality can sometimes just bleed through into our physical world.
So he explains that there was this strange pattern. Every single time he sat down to talk with his mom face to face, she couldn't do one simple thing. She could not look him in the eye. Not once.
He said her eyes would just flicker. They'd blink uncontrollably, almost like she was looking directly into a blindingly bright light. And what's wild is, she could look at anyone else in the room just fine, but when she looked at him, it was like trying to stare at the sun.
So what was his takeaway from this? It's pretty profound. He came to believe that in those moments, her spiritual eyes were being opened, that she wasn't just seeing his physical self, but his true spiritual self, his sun self. And the darkness inside of her simply could not handle that much light.
It was a physical reaction to a spiritual reality.
So, let's bring this all together. The huge takeaway from Daniel Lamptey's teaching is this. Being righteous isn't just about earning a reward for the afterlife. It's a present tense reality. His whole point is that you already are a spiritual son. You're a force for life in this world right now, even if it's hidden behind your physical form.
And so that really leaves us with a pretty mind-blowing question to chew on, doesn't it? If he's right, if this is true, what does that mean about you? What kind of light, what kind of life-sustaining energy are you putting out into the world every single day, maybe without even having a clue?